One night, a group of men visit a house on 34th and Vine so their friend Paul can have his fortune told by a gypsy palm reader named Madame Ruth. She looks closely at Paul's hand, even spits on it, and then tells him he has terrible luck with women. To make things worse, she takes a picture of his palm to show her sister. She tells Paul that no woman will ever be with him, and he becomes visibly upset. Madame Ruth then opens a closet filled with strange bottles and picks out one labeled number 8. She tells Paul to drink the potion mixed with water, saying it will help him attract women whenever he talks. Paul laughs and says he's a biochemist, not believing her. Still, she gives him a small sample and says he'll come back. Later, at a restaurant, Paul's friends ask if he likes a woman they saw him with at work. Paul says she's not his type, but inside he knows Diane is exactly the kind of woman he likes. At the same time, Diane, who studies animal behavior, is talking with her friends about her job. She explains how scientists can cause male monkeys to feel excited by using electrodes in their brains. One friend guesses the results correctly and jokes that she understands men very well. Meanwhile, Paul, a shy biochemist, is with his friends at a bar. They urge him to talk to a pretty woman in a red top. He says no at first, but one friend offers him $100, so he finally agrees. Nervously, Paul walks over and tries to start a conversation. The woman turns out to be rude. She mocks his job, his clothes, and his car, saying they would never work as a couple. As Paul prepares to leave, clearly embarrassed, the woman teasingly offers a reward if he can guess the brand of her designer top. Paul admits he doesn't know, and the woman dismisses him. Later that night, Diane gets pulled over by a police officer while driving home. She explains that her car isn't working properly, but the officer doesn't listen and gives her a ticket anyway, clearly judging her by how she looks. Paul and Diane each go home. Though they don't know each other well yet, they both enjoy classical music. While Paul is cleaning up after his cat, he finds the gypsy's potion sample in his coat pocket, but tosses it in the trash without thinking twice. Diane flips through romantic movies on TV but ends up reading a philosophy book by Jean-Paul Sartre. At the same time, Paul is reading a book by the same author when he gets a call from a friend saying they've sent him a surprise. Soon, a woman named Marissa knocks on Paul's door. She was hired to give him a good time. Meanwhile, Diane wakes up to a call from a man named Gary, who asks if he can come over. When he arrives, their conversation is awkward, suggesting they've known each other for a while. They spend time together, but Gary quickly leaves afterward, making an unkind remark about her appearance. Back at Paul's place, Marissa shows interest in his expensive stereo system while he's getting drinks. She sneaks into the bathroom, checks his medicine cabinet, then leaves the house. Outside, she tells someone about the stereo, hinting she may have had other motives. Later that night, Paul's cat knocks over the trash again and licks some of the potion Paul had thrown away earlier. The cat jumps onto the windowsill and lets out a loud meow, which seems to call other cats nearby. Paul hears the noise and goes to check. He walks into the living room and is shocked to see dozens of cats crowding around his own cat. The next day at work, Paul shows Diane a sample of the potion and explains how it seemed to change his cat's behavior for about 4 hours. He connects this to what the gypsy had said about the potion causing attraction through speech. They decide to test it on a female chimp. After she makes a sound, the male chimp, Romeo, bursts through a wall and attempts to approach the female chimp in an aggressive manner. Paul and Diane then run more tests using the chimps. They learn the potion causes attraction from the opposite sex and aggression from the same sex. It's very strong and must be mixed with water, and its effects last only 4 hours. Unsure how to move forward with human trials, Paul suggests they try it themselves in real life. Diane agrees. They split the remaining potion and go their separate ways, not speaking for the next 3 weeks. That night, Diane gets pulled over again by the same police officer. This time she uses the potion as a mouth spray. After simply clearing her throat, the officer drops the ticket and even asks her out. Diane happily says no and drives away, amused. When Diane gets home, she finds out her car insurance has been canceled. The next day, she goes to the insurance office planning to use the potion, but her assigned agent is a woman, so she looks for a man instead. Using her charm, she convinces a male employee to send her to the supervisor. The supervisor, Mr. Webster, quickly restores her insurance while clearly smitten by her. As Diane leaves the building, she bumps into a rich-looking man who watches her as she walks away. Later, he sees her admiring a necklace in a store window and starts following her, declaring his love. He tracks her to her car and offers her the necklace, but she turns it down. When he sees her old, broken-down car, he mentions that he owns the company that makes that model. Hearing this, Diane accepts the necklace since her car won't start. The man, Enrico Pazzoli, then invites her to a party that evening. At her apartment, Enrico shows up but tells her the event is formal and she doesn't have the right clothes. So he takes her to a high-end boutique to get a gown. At the party, many women surround Prince Geoffrey. Diane enters in her new dress with Enrico and quickly draws attention by talking about science. Her unique laugh catches the prince's ear. Later, Enrico drives her home, and Diane enjoys the excitement and attention she's now getting. At the same time, Paul gets dressed up and uses the potion spray before heading out. He returns to the restaurant and spots the same rude woman at the bar. He whispers something to her. The potion takes effect. Suddenly, she becomes flirty and interested. Paul takes advantage of the moment, teasing her until she kisses him passionately. She quickly becomes more forward, suggesting they spend more time together. Instead of giving in, Paul turns the tables by asking her a scientific question she can't answer, then walks away, leaving her behind. Feeling confident, Paul begins testing the potion on different women in various places. He finds it works every time and starts to enjoy his new status. One day, he visits a college sorority and spends time getting to know several of the girls. He doesn't regret it, even when he gets arrested for staying past curfew. Meanwhile, Gary, the man who used to visit Diane casually, tries to see her again. But her home is now protected by security. A guard tells him she's with Prince Geoffrey of England. The next morning, Diane quietly bails Paul out of jail. She doesn't speak because she's still under the potion's influence. Paul notices she looks different, more polished and confident. She smirks silently, hinting that she knows about his wild night at the sorority. Then, to Paul's surprise, she gives him a ride in the prince's limousine. Inside, Prince Geoffrey personally invites Paul to a charity auction. That night at the party, Paul and Diane each take a spray of the potion and playfully go their separate ways. Diane is escorted by Prince Geoffrey, while Paul quickly draws the attention of a group of women. Throughout the evening, Paul and Diane keep exchanging glances, unable to ignore each other. Eventually, the prince leaves the party with Diane. Paul tries to catch up, but can't. Later that night, he sees a news report about the prince and Diane, now the center of public gossip. The next day, Paul meets Diane in a park. She tells him that Prince Geoffrey has proposed to her. Although she hasn't said yes, she's clearly excited, especially after not dating for 4 years. Paul reminds her they once had lunch together, but she laughs it off, saying it didn't count. He also brings up a boyfriend she once mentioned, but she says that wasn't a real relationship either. Seeing an opportunity, Paul asks her out on a proper date. Diane agrees with a smile. After going on a few dates, they realize they truly like each other and soon become a couple. Not long after, Paul decides to propose. He buys a ring and books a romantic trip. But one day, Diane suddenly becomes unreachable. She doesn't answer her door or return his calls. Sometime later, Diane calls Paul, and he hurries to her house. There, she suddenly tells him she's been seeing someone else. To Paul's shock, it's Gary, standing confidently in her living room. Hurt and confused, Paul notices a strange snake-shaped ring with a red gem on Gary's finger before quietly leaving. He spends the next few days feeling heartbroken, but eventually pulls himself together and decides to find a way to break up Diane and Gary. Paul starts meeting with Diane again, acting like he's fine just being friends. In the background, he begins looking for anything suspicious about Gary. One day, while walking with Diane in the park, Paul asks what she likes about Gary. She gives vague answers and then slips up, saying Gary sometimes makes her do things she doesn't want to do. Just then, Gary calls. After a short, tense phone conversation, Diane turns to Paul and says they can't see each other anymore. Paul starts to worry. Diane's behavior seems strange, like she's under some kind of control. Later that day, Marissa tries to break into Paul's apartment but is caught when he arrives. He doesn't suspect anything and invites her in. She asks to use the bathroom again, and while inside, she finds the potion spray. Curious, she uses it, unknowingly putting Paul under its spell. While under the potion's influence, Paul gives away his valuable belongings, including all his potion samples and research. Marissa and her partner take everything. 4 hours later, the effect wears off, and Paul is stunned. He realizes what happened to him felt eerily similar to how Diane had been acting around Gary. He then visits Madame Ruth, who tells him that a man wearing a golden snake ring bought the full bottle of the potion. Realizing it must be Gary, Paul rushes to a payphone and calls Diane. He tells her that Gary has been using the love potion on her and keeps her under its spell by calling her every 4 hours. Suddenly, Gary interrupts the call and tells Diane to hang up. From Diane's shaky replies, Paul figures out that Gary found out about the potion by reading her journal. Over the next few days, Paul tries everything to make Diane understand what's really happening. He tells her she's not the only one who used the potion. He sends letters and makes more calls, but nothing works. When Paul confronts Gary at work, he's thrown out. Out of options, Paul goes back to Madame Ruth and asks if there's an antidote. She gives him another potion. This one is called Love Potion Number 9. Unlike the first one, it doesn't create fake feelings. Instead, it reveals only real love. But there's a risk. If Diane doesn't truly love Paul, she'll hate him forever after taking it. Later, Paul explains everything to his friends. For the potion to work, he and Diane must drink it from the same cup and kiss. Then they must wait 5 minutes. If it works, a breeze will carry a song. If not, it will taste like mule sweat. If Diane's love is real, no amount of the old potion, number 8, will control her again. Paul then shares his bold and risky plan to get Diane to take the new potion, with his friends still doubting it'll work. Just then, Marissa shows up and sweet-talks her way into getting more of potion number 8. She quickly learns that Gary has the rest of it and leaves, but not before using the potion on Paul and his friends. 4 hours later, with their valuables missing, the group snaps out of it. Realizing Paul was right, they agree to help him. Paul and his friends find Diane's apartment, where her friend reveals Diane is marrying Gary in a few hours. Paul explains the potion, and they head to the wedding. At the wedding, Diane's friend tricks her into drinking potion number 9, but Gary drinks from the same glass and kisses her. Paul calls Madame Ruth, who warns him to act fast. Paul breaks into the venue, drinks from the glass, and is about to kiss Diane when Gary throws him out. Marissa flirts with Gary, gets him to fetch the remaining potion, and they kiss. But potion number 9 snaps Gary back to his senses. Frustrated, Marissa drinks the undiluted potion number 8, sneaks into the wedding, and causes everyone to fall under the spell with a loud cough. Chaos erupts as men chase Marissa like zombies. Meanwhile, Paul breaks free from the police station, steals a car, and races to the wedding. He kisses Diane, knocking down Gary with a punch. Outside, Paul anxiously waits. Marissa, realizing her control over the men, tries to escape the city. After 6 minutes, Diane runs into Paul's arms, and they kiss happily, while Madame Ruth watches them through her crystal ball.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay connected with us.